Hi, my name is Jennifer Watson. I am a speaker, a vitality and leadership coach, and absolute influencer. And I'm so excited to be on this journey and connecting with all of you today on the Jesse T Show.
The mighty and powerful Jennifer Watson. What's going on, girl?
I am doing well, just getting through a great rejuvenating weekend, and I'm ready to go for this Monday.
Oh yeah, same. It's Monday fun day. What was rejuvenating about your weekend?
You know, we always talk about filling our cup because we need to do that as leaders and powerhouse people. And I'm assuming a lot of your listeners are these exact ambitious people I get to connect with every day. But I am big in filling your cup. And it doesn't just mean doing the massage, doing, the different things that we like to do to fill our cup physically or getting the pedicure. It actually means just spending time with you and getting how cool you are. And the more I do that, Jesse, the more I realize how giddy I am about myself and what I get to give to the world. So for me, rejuvenating my cup this last weekend is also just spending time with me in prayer, looking at ways I can impact and just continue to refine myself. So that was a great weekend for that reason.
Love it. Love it. We're in alignment because I had a self-care weekend as well. And self-care is super, super important for so many reasons. It's self-love, which is a beautiful thing. It's also, it feels good, but like to your point, because I did a facial on Friday, massage on Saturday, hung out with a really good friend on Saturday. So filled the soul bucket, and then took a nap on Sunday, which was beautiful. 2-hour nap, just passed out to the world. And that was like not feeling guilty at all. Cause usually I have so much going on. I'm like, how can I take a nap? But all that being said, it's important that happiness comes from within and joy comes from within. And like, we don't just seek pleasure. Like we're not just seeking the pleasurable thing because it makes us feel good in the moment. We bring the feel good to the moment. So I think that's kind of the context of what you're saying there.
Absolutely. It's really funny when people interview me, they're like, "Oh, you seem so busy. You must have such an exciting life." And I always say, my life is actually fairly boring and I love it. And what you just said, I really do a lot of deep connection with self and with others. And that doesn't include things, by the way, I love that you did that this weekend. I do physical things too to fill my cup, but it's really about creating space for me to look at the things I need to work on, things that are kind of the in my life. But I find there's such a groundedness that happens when part of my quote, I'm in quote, you guys right now, of filling my cup is really understanding all parts of me. And that creates so much more momentum for the rest of my week and for other times when I'm not always filling the cup. I'm doing my thing and rock star and trying to create impact. So navigating the depths of the is a huge part of filling my cup. And that's very counterintuitive for a lot of people. But when I coach, when I speak, I encourage people to navigate the depths of as I call it.
Yeah, there's a psychology titan, Carl Jung, that I follow, and he talks about shadow work. And like for me, the shadow is, well, for everyone, the shadow is your repressed part of your psyche. Not necessarily always bad, but there are some dark parts that could come out, whether it's resentment, fear, anger, there's all these different things that kind of reside in the shadow. And sometimes we act out of alignment with who we are, but you can't know the light. You can't know the good stuff without the shadow. You can't know the good without the bad. You have to have that paradigm of good and bad, easy, hard, to be able to really have perspective and really have that balance in your life. And for what you're saying in terms of diving into the crap, so to speak, that really gives you perspective on the good.
Yes, 100%. And it's really interesting when I work with people, and this is because of my own personal development journey. And I know you've gone through some different things too, Jesse, but people ask me often, how did you find a way to shift through ability to navigate the because everybody's like, we want to run from it, whether, choose the addiction of choice. We all have it. Sex addiction, social media addiction, alcohol addiction. It doesn't matter. We all choose our thing to run away from. And often I get the question of how to do that. Like, Jen, you're talking about filling the cup and getting really deep and navigating that. And I always say, for a lot of us, it has to be that come to Jesus moment. I know you've had that, Jesse. I've had that. And it always seems to be on the bathroom floor, or the kitchen floor,
Yeah,
where these enlightenments come, right?
A floor or a toilet. There's like all
exactly. There's something really that you guys, this sounds really funny, but there's something about creating a safe space for you to just start feeling it. I encourage a lot of my clients to go to the bathroom, the kitchen floor. And I'm not kidding you when I say that, because they're like, I don't know how to even start this, Jennifer. I have no idea how to feel whether it be shame, guilt, fear. A lot of people, when they have that come to Jesus moment, they're beyond guilt, Jesse. They're at that shame
Yep.
state where it's a very, very low frequency. People are like, how do you get out of that? And it is a come to Jesus for all of us where we have an opportunity on the floor. Rock bottom is a great place to start, right? But a lot of times, the lowest frequency also allows us to have eyes wide open to the higher frequency. We're a lot more humble in rock bottom, Jesse. We're a lot more open to suggestions. So
Yes.
if you just take a deep breath on the kitchen or bathroom floor, I'm not kidding you guys when I say this, really be in that moment of, I'm tired of being where I'm at. I've been in that journey. I've been on the rock bottom where I think I told you at one point, Jesse, I was suffering from pretty severe depression. And I was literally at rock bottom where I was planning my checkout after tax season. So it'd be easier paperwork, quote
Mm.
unquote, for my family. And I remember thinking at that point, again, rock bottom, I was on the kitchen bathroom floor, both sides. I kept kind of going from side to side, from room to room. And I'm like, that's a sick brain. Right. But I remember at that same moment, you guys, that I felt this shame. Like, I can't believe I'm actually thinking this horrible shame. I looked up, eyes wide open. Again, lowest frequency. If you're willing, take a deep breath in that moment. I did. A bunch of goodness started coming to me of things, of people. I got a phone call from my mom. I got a phone call from my sister. I got phone calls from people because I'm like, I know this is not good. And I'm a human being that was put on this earth for a reason, and not just take up breathing time and ho time and reading Netflix time, that I'm here for a reason. And when you're at that moment, you just look up, you guys physically look up and take a deep breath. You'll be surprised. You may get one phone call enough to tip you into the right direction of organically navigating the. Then the shame goes to guilt. Then the guilt goes to fear. Then you start working your way up where there's a balance of understanding, like, I can get in and out of this very quickly. Once you do it a lot, and you can do it really well. And I have to tell you, there's other shame moments I've had, but that was a big shame moment for me, that I was planning my death around tax season or after tax season. There's been other shaming moments for me too, where I knew I had to navigate. But if you get on that bathroom floor, look up, take a deep breath, you will be surprised how the needle can move just a hair without any tools from us coaches yet, you guys. And I mean, I did it without a coach. Coaching helps, support helps, and that really creates more maximal momentum.
Yes.
But sometimes it starts with you on the bathroom floor, Jesse, and it's okay. My goal as a speaker and a coach is that we don't have to have all those bathroom moments, that we, as entrepreneurs, as our expertise that we use, Jesse, that we can get people to get out of that faster and not be on the rock bottom so frequently or so long, and move into the powerful state they're supposed to, be in. And that is truly one of my passions, is influencing people to get it sooner than I did and be powerful, ambitious leaders that you were meant to and create on this earth. So
I think that's a powerful share. Very, interesting how I have a friend who went through a similar planning of suicide, essentially. And it was after her daughter was out of school for the school year, because she would go to her dad's. They were separated or divorced or not together, but she would go to her dad's for the summer. And she
yeah.
figured that, if she was with her dad, she'd be in a safe place and she wouldn't have to come home to seeing her mom gone. And I find it unbelievably heartbreaking that we feel like our life is an inconvenience. Like, we feel that the magnitude it would take, the pain, the sorrow, depression, anxiety, trauma, whatever it is that got you to that point, all the above, other influences got you to that point, and you're like, you still don't want to be an inconvenience. So you're going to do it after tax time, or my friend who's going to do it during, summer break. And it's really incredible, because most of us, a majority of humans, have not been taught self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't look in the mirror every day and say, I love you, Jennifer. I love you, Jesse, speaking to ourselves. Like most people don't do that. And people aren't trained these ways. And so there's a beautiful, I guess, kind of vibration that's kind of coming around over the last few years, where people are starting to be cognizant of these things, like subconscious thoughts. 60 to 90,000 of them we have per day. Most of them are negative. And so like a lot of people are doing subconscious training and NLP and all these different things that are out there to try to, get them placed to a place of a baseline of happy.
Yeah.
So talking about happy, because I want to then talk about the journey of, how you got there. I see you dancing in your driveway all the time. And we're talking, and this is on social media. So this is something you're putting out to the world, and I friggin' love it. I love the energy. I love the vibe. I love the who gives a fuck. Like, this is me. This is what I do. This is how I show up, and it's beautiful. And you're just talking about laying on the floor and like thinking about how you can check out from this world, but now you dance every day in the driveway.
Yeah.
Talk about how you went, like where you were at your lowest, how you got to your lowest, and how you got to dancing in the driveway.
Yeah. Um, this is going to sound really maybe controversial to a lot of people, but when you stay in shame mode too long, it's actually a lazy place to be, because you just kind of keep saying, well, I suck, I suck, I suck. If you can get yourself out of the step of shame to guilt by being on that bathroom floor, it creates a little bit more of an edge that you think you count, that you did something bad, but you're not a bad person. Remember, shame is about you're a bad person. Okay, you suck. Like guilt, if you can shift out of that, and that's the next step I took into, I did something bad. Whether it be a person, a place, a thing, and then that creates a little bit different edge. Okay, Jesse. So when I was in that shame moment, which is one of the lowest frequencies you can be in, like I said, it does allow you to open your eyes. You're more humble, eyes wide open in a lot of ways. But when I took a deep breath and someone called me, the way I created massive momentum, you guys listen up. It's true. One person that you tell you're the most shameful thing that you could ever, that you've ever experienced, that you're so afraid that you're going to be rejected for, abandoned for. Okay, you guys, that's why you're on the bathroom floor, because subconsciously you want to create a space that, hey, I am in a safe space. But we do this thing in our brain that all the bad things we've done, we're going to be rejected for, abandoned for. Okay, that is a natural human instinct and desire, right? That we want to connect and be connected to people. So when we're about to share something, we go into hypervigilant, like, I can't do this. But if we can take a deep breath and at least tell one person, and I told one of my family members, and thus, you guys, it became this domino effect. When we project so much, Jesse, on how we think something's going to go, especially when we're trying to go from shame to guilt to make our way up the ladder, this higher frequency, this higher alignment. But it's not that bad. When I started sharing some of my deepest, darkest secrets about, this is the biggest one, that I've had a lot of severe depression. I've also shared a lot that I was involved in an affair. Jesse, that was another big one. I didn't feel like I deserved a good man after that. When I started opening up about my shame with one person that I trusted, it opened up this domino that all of a sudden the things that I did that weren't great, everybody, had no power over me anymore. It's literally like I could actually run to be a politician and actually probably do a good job, because all my skeletons are out there. You can find anything on me. I'm like, everything that I've done is out there, and then it creates this. Now I'm in the level of guilt. Now, what did I do wrong? How can I create this a learning moment? Once I started sharing with more and more people, I finally went on the TEDx stage, you guys, with half this stuff. Okay, not that you have to do that, but by telling one person, then you tell another person, then you tell another person, then you start getting ideas of, what did I learn from that moment of shame that now I feel guilty about? That now I'm trying to transcend and make it part of my story as an entrepreneur, as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend. It is amazing. Then when I started seeing all the learning moments, I started seeing all these opportunities to move forward in my career of impact. How much what I learned, right, created impact in the way I wanted to serve as an entrepreneur, as an influencer to the world, how I wanted to serve to my family, and also to serve in the goals that I had. So you guys, the first step is telling one person and taking out of your head right now that it's going to be that bad, because I guarantee you 9 times out of 10 it's not. And the person that does reject you, it's okay. There's 7.5 billion people in the world. Not everybody's going to like you. And some people will judge you. By the way, that's just the way it is. Every time I put something on social, someone judges me.
Not everybody should like you, because you don't like everybody. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
that's, I heard this the other day, and I feel this, and it's what
Yeah.
you're saying right now. It's like, yes, it's great to be polite and authentic and well received, but not everyone's gonna like you, and that's okay.
No, absolutely. And the cool thing, you guys, is you take these steps and tell more people. I'm not telling you to have to share every 20 billion things that you've done in your life that's been bad to everybody in the world. What I'm saying, some of the things that are the spinning hamstring wheels in your head every day, you have to be humble enough, courageous enough to take a step to tell someone. It is not courageous to do all the successful things you guys do. I've worked with multimillionaires. I've made good money. I've done all these accolades that people talk about. You know what people ask me in interviews all the time? What is your number one success? That I stepped in courage to tell someone my biggest shitty stuff.
Yep.
And it helped me heal my brain. That will always be my most successful story, every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And when you guys get that, it opens up opportunities, creatively for your business, it opens up people that will accept you and draw to you. The momentum is crazy. And when you get that, that's a huge thing. Just know this shame, guilt, it has an edge, it has a space for you. We humans need contrast to move forward. It's okay that you're there. It's now taking that one step of telling one person to get you into that moment, that space of moving to the next level, then the next level, the next level, and you start seeing progress. And this is when you start drawing the people that will support you where you're at. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, not everybody's going to do that, but there will be people out there. And one thing I will say, Jessica, because I know you mentioned my dance videos, when you start opening up, all the saran wrap comes off and you're actually really you. I used to think I was like this masculine, get shit done, like always hardcore, because that's, I was an All American and Trek, like that's what I did. And when I took the saran wrap off, I'm like, gosh, I love being this luscious, feminine, intuitive, creative woman. And doing these dances you talked about, I'm like, I'm literally in my, like my driver, like you said, and my neighbors think I'm halfway crazy. And that's okay. But then they start dancing. I'm not kidding you. I've seen them start dancing. They're like, I love that. So I'm like, I know, right?
Nice.
I'll go do cartwheels in the yard and act like a stupid kid, because I know how much that makes me feel feminine and strong. And it's pulled out more the other sides of me, which I know we've talked about, the feminine, the masculine, what a true Sparta is. I feel like more Sparta than ever before. And I'm actually more feminine than ever before because of getting rid of the shame, the guilt that hid the best version of me. Now I'm out dancing like a monkey.
There's actually a Dance Monkey song. Have you heard that song?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
So talk about, where you're touching on divine feminine, divine masculine, which we all have, women and men have each, and we can step into each one really at any given time if we're aware of it. And whether it's the female, person that wants to step into more of the creator, the doer, the masculine, like you can do that. And whether it's the man that wants to go on the dance floor and shake his hips, the feminine, like you can do that. And it's all about what makes you happy and lights you up. And it's interesting because it also gives people permission to do the same thing, like dance, like you said. And the story that we have that we share very similarly, which I'm learning to say, because being from Boston, it's hard to say that word similarly. I don't know why, it's just really hard to say that word, but I'm getting there. And I had a story of shame to sharing my journey. And like when I was a kid growing up in Boston, I remember we used to tag, which is graffiti. So like we'd walk around with either markers or like paint pens or like graffiti cans, and we would tag because that was kind of the cool thing to do growing up. Like there was all these people putting on artwork and it was beautiful. But my tag name was Shame, SHAME. And it was because I came from a place of lack and scarcity with, the way I grew up being bullied. My dad was a junkie. I lived in like a not a great environment, and I just felt shame around all that stuff. And those stories that I had and that I was carrying with me led through different things in my life that I was shameful of. And it really took until a couple of years ago where I had two people that came into my life. One of them was a personal mentor, and his name is Patrick Tucker. Patrick Tucker is a investment manager fiduciary, which is someone who really goes above and beyond to be a great financial planner for their people. Basically, we don't screw our people over is what it is. And he's this aligned guy where he had a lot of similar beliefs in health and wellness and family and spirituality and relationships. And so I really aligned with him. And he was at one point, he was like, you need to share your story. You need to tell people all the shit you've been through, because number one, it'll help you. But number two, it'll give permission to people to do the same thing. And so with that urging and that behest of Patrick, plus listening to David Goggins, I don't know if you've heard of this name before.
Love him. Yep.
David Goggins has a book that changed my life. One of the most impactful books of my life, period. Listened to it a couple times back to back, called Can't Hurt Me. And he has a very interesting story as well, where he had a lot of shame and guilt from the life that he lived. And once he started sharing his story and his journey, it gave him power. Yeah. And it's like that. I don't know if you remember this movie back in the day. It might've been like the early mid 2000s, but it was 8 Mile with Eminem.
Yeah. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a scene in that movie where, Eminem, for this is not a spoiler alert. This movie's like 20 years old. So basically there's a scene where Mekhi Phifer is like the last, like he's basically at this last part of the scene of the movie, the last part where like Mekhi Phifer's been just beating his ass, like on the stage and in real life. And Eminem's just like, screw it. I got nothing else, nothing to lose. Right. And he's like, you know what? He gets up on stage and he goes first in his rap battle. Yeah. And he's like, I am poor. I come from a broken home. My mom, she does like bad things, like all this stuff. And he takes all the words out of Mekhi's mouth. Yeah. And then he could go on the offensive, and then he can win the rap battle and then become Eminem. Right. Yeah. And so it was really powerful, because once I started sharing this journey of like my skeletons and let them all out for people to see, it did this beautiful thing for healing for me, but it also brought in the most interesting people into my life that gave a fuck about me. People
Yes.
that were on a similar path. They had been through the same types of things, overcoming addiction, being bullied, having abuse, like all these different things. And we were able to talk together and build together and grow together. And for my business and for my personal life, it's completely led me down this beautiful journey that I'm so glad that I did it. So I'm glad that you did it. I'm glad that I did it. And now we're talking about it.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you brought up Goggins, because a lot of people think of him as like masculine, badass. The only reason why he got where he was at, because he tapped into his feminine, you guys. You got to realize that come to Jesus moment, and he's learned to tap into both. I know his videos out there are really like boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. If you follow
Stay
his,
hard, motherfucker.
you know exactly, and I love it. I love it. But you guys, if you look and listen, and I'm so big into words, in listening to words, they have feminine nuances to them. You know, we've talked about this, the movie, 300, and how you can be very masculine, have these feminine nuances, and be feminine and have these masculine nuances. And he is very like that. And it's funny. I love that guy. And it's partly because I resonate with him, because I love my masculine,
Same.
feminine, but I'm pulling into more of that feminine. It took me kind of dealing with my shame where it pulled that out. And you guys, your feminine also allows you to create for all the things you want in your business, allows you to be more intuitive with yourself and your team. I often, when I work with teams, Jesse, I do intuitive mastery leadership. I do emotional intelligence. It's two things besides creating a mental edge on your team through any environment. We talk a lot about intuitive leading and emotional intelligence leading. And guess what? That taps in a lot of your feminine we're
No
talking about,
question.
reading yourself, reading others, rapport, stepping back, humility, just communicating in that way that they can create safety. So it's this beautiful dance. And once I got rid of, you guys, going back to what we are talking about, the shame and guilt, I got better as a leader. I got better at leading other people when I was able to tap into that intuitive and emotional intelligence space. And when I talk about leading self or leading teams, it's connection. It's totally connection. And that's where leadership starts every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I say that phrase a lot, but I believe that it starts with all of us with connection, no matter what your leadership goals are, you guys. And the connection starts with you connecting with yourself, with all your demons, and then connecting with your team. And then like, wow, he has demons too. And we all create this huge safety. You talk about productivity going up. I've had guys and girls come to me like, I want to make this much money this year. I'm like, would you just forget about the systems for a second? What are you the most afraid to share? What does that have to do with anything? And I'm like, it has everything to do, because you're not showing up authentically, and they can sense it even if they don't know they're sensing it. You know what I'm
No
saying?
question.
So it starts with that. It starts with understanding that we have masculine, feminine, we have hard stuff we've been through, we've had great stuff we've been through. And when you're willing to navigate the depths, step into the darkness, open that shit up, I can't tell you how more intuitive you are with yourself, with your team, how more emotionally intelligent you are, how you start riffing between the masculine and feminine. And it's such a beautiful dance. I have done less this year with my business, so to speak, as far as balls to the wall hours of work. I've kind of put boundaries on that, Jesse. I've taken off in business. And I'm like, again, WTF, right? You're like, how's this happening? But of course we know how it's happening, right?
Yeah.
We're aligning, we're taking ownership of our stuff. We're getting out of that shame, and we're aligning, and we're bringing people, places, things to us. So when you guys, when you get rid of the saran wrap, get rid of it, everything becomes easier. I'm not saying entrepreneurship is easy, okay? And I'm not saying life is easy. What I'm saying is it becomes this dance, and you just ripple through adversity just like that. Last year was a great example, but we'll have other years like that. Newsflash. This is why to me it was a great year. So when you can understand that nothing is ever working against you, it's all for good, you start shifting things between this dance of no shame to enlightenment, masculine to feminine, bringing out the authentic self of you. If it means dancing like a monkey, dance like a freaking monkey. If it means being David Goggins, swearing it doesn't matter. Like, draw in your people. I love it. And I love what your story is, Jesse. And that's why I was drawn to you, because I get it. And you get it, and you get where your momentum has taken off when it started with the unleashing the saran wrap.
No question. No question. And I've learned that how to really, through the self work and, the type of things that I do,
Yeah,
listening to my intuition has been a lifesaver in a couple instances.
yeah,
Even before, when I was younger and doing crazy shit in Boston,
yeah,
selling drugs, doing drugs, I got into a couple situations where it could have been life or death. And thankfully I listened to my intuition,
yeah,
and I know it saved my life. And like, I've really, since then,
Yeah.
since the last time I touched a hard drug was probably like 2006.
Yeah.
So long time ago,
Yeah.
maybe even before then, 2004, I don't remember, but
Yeah.
basically, that was 2006.
Yeah.
So the intuition that I've really honed in on with the work that I do now has become so loud and
Yeah.
so crystallized. And so when I get that feeling, that gut feeling or that inner voice, and it says, yes, no, this is what's going on, it's always leading me down the right path. So I'm in alignment there. And then empathy that comes from emotional intelligence has been an absolute game changer, especially for a dude that most dudes don't get taught emotional intelligence. We don't get taught empathy because it's like growing up, suck it up, buttercup, don't be a pussy. Like that's how we're taught. And
Yeah.
for a lot of us that didn't have dads around, we didn't even hear that. So it's like men are starting to become aware. Yes, you could be a Spartan, you could be a warrior monk, you could be a savage poet, you could be these things, but having emotional intelligence and empathy is an absolute game changer in business, in relationships, with
Yeah.
self. It gives you so much ability to hold space for yourself and other people, which has become a popular term over the last couple of years, but it's so powerful if done correctly.
And it's really interesting because to get out of shame, what we were talking about earlier, other than being on the floor and reaching out for help, it is self-empathy, which is one of the major core. There's 5 different components of emotional intelligence, what Jesse is talking about, you guys. But self-empathy starts with you connecting with that shame piece, and then you can take it to your team. And often the second step with your team, I often really help people access their team more connectively. And I say, be with other people that think completely opposite of you,
Yes.
that don't think anything like you. And if you spend a little bit of time with them weekly, you will start creating empathy for them and for yourself, because you're starting to see that people don't see everything through your eyes. They all have different stories. They all have their different traumas and shames. And when you start doing that, just spend time, you guys. They're like, how do we get more empathetic? I don't feel empathetic, Jen. I'm like, I get that. Hang out with people that don't think like you. Just start there, and you'll start creating this nuance with yourself and creating self-empathy. And then also empathy for your team, because we all come from different backgrounds. And it's actually a great piece for also optimizing your intuition, because when you're more dialed into your self-empathy piece, your intuition will come up. And speaking of intuition, people are like, other than self-empathy, Jennifer, emotional intelligence, I get you're talking about intuition. It's great to lead your life. I have no clue how to start. I don't know how to tap into it. I'm going to give you guys a tool that's very, very easy. What's your truth? What is your truth? If you don't know, get someone to kind of help you. Start journaling about it. What do you believe is good and true and right for the world? What do you believe you are here on this earth to do? That is your soul spiritual piece, you guys. Think of it like that as your radio station, okay? You're kind of dialing in the knobs, right? All of us have our different knobs. That's your spiritual truth. And guess what? The antennas are your intuition. Once you dial in who you are, what you believe is good, true, right about the world, and what you're supposed to bring to this world, your purpose, your vision, your antennas go up and they go, yes, no, yes, no to people, places, things. So you're not going to get very far with intuition in leading yourself well in different situations or your team well until you get that dialed in. It's just like when we talk about business, right? You have to get what your mission and vision is. That's basically, again, your spiritual truth or your truth for why you're in impact. Then from there, you get the antlers up. Who do I need to bring to the team? Does that make sense, you guys? So how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yes.
Intuition goes across the board. Start with your spiritual truth. That is your anchor. That is your radio station. The antennas are your intuition. And that's when you start playing. It just gets fun. And you're going to screw up sometimes. I thought I was being intuitive. It was fear-based. Whatever. It's just a learning process, right? You guys, I'm not perfect at intuition. Am I pretty good at this state in my life? Yes. Am I perfect at it? No. Am I pretty good at emotional intelligence and connecting with people and communicating? Yes. Am I perfect at it? Hell no. So just knowing it's this dance of kind of screwing it up and just kind of going through this beautiful moment of learning, and nothing is bad. You're going to get it. You're just going to get it. Right.
No question. Yeah. And just and giving yourself that time and that space. And then, like you said, plugging into other people that have different mindsets. You don't want to have an echo chamber for everything that you do. You want people with different experiences, people with different viewpoints, and building yourself a board of directors, if you will, of people that are smarter than you in different areas will help level you up. I mean, you can bring your own expertise to the table, but if you can have this kind of wise counsel around you, this is the idea of you're the average of the 5 people that are around you. Show me the 5 people that are closest in your life. I'll show you your future. Like these kind of things are so true. And I think that It's important in life and in business. Like it's for me, it's all the same thing. Like I don't separate business and my personal life. Like I kind of have this lifestyle business that's been blended together because it's just like I know what my core values are. I know what my soul's truth is. My soul's truth is to share love, light, and truth with the world, to be a beacon of love, light, and truth. And I do that in every relationship, every conversation. And so there's times where, like you said, I may not be on the forefront of my mind. I may not be showing up the best I can, but then I look back at a conversation or an instance and I'm like, I could have shown up better here. And I either reach out to that person and say that, or just next time we connect, have that conversation and or show up better. Right.
I love that. And it's really interesting. Um, one of my favorite actors is I don't know why I'm just thinking of just downloading this right now, Jesse, but is Will Smith. And I
I
don't know if you ever
love
saw the movie 7 Pounds, but love that movie. I'm very cathartic, everybody. I am an
him.
Enneagram 4. I'm always getting in deep with things, but I love the movie on a variety of levels. And the reason why I mention it is I think there was a really good scene in there that I think it can help hone all this in that we're talking about, you guys. Life is hard, it's beautiful, it's feminine, it's masculine, it's scars, it's wounds, it's enlightenment, it's transcendence, it's all the above. And there was a scene in this movie that really was really powerful where, I'm sure all of you have seen at this point, so it's not like any big deal, but Will Smith's character was giving one of his organs to another gentleman, an organ donor, and the guy that was getting one of his organs was like, why are you doing this for me? Like, really, why are you doing this for me? And Will Smith's character said this, because you're a good person when no one is watching.
Yep.
You're a good person when no one's watching. And the reason why I'm bringing that in right now, you guys, when we're navigating through all this in our shame and our guilt and trying to be better as leaders and entrepreneurs and everything, I will tell you at the end of the day, when you're just trying to pursue every day just to be better, learn from mistakes. I was an asshole yesterday. How can I do it better? And behind closed doors, you were trying every day to be a better person. You will win. I get chills saying that because when I saw that saying, like, it is so true. No matter what my goal is that day, I say to God every day, help me to learn, serve, give, and be the best person that I can be. And adding that line when no one is watching, I
Yep.
think is a beautiful thing.
That's integrity, right?
Yeah,
Like what you
it's
do when no one's
integrity.
watching is character. It's integrity.
Yes. And that is the backbone of us human beings, you guys, is character and integrity. What is your virtue? What is your morality? Really sit and think about that and then stick to it. And when you don't, give yourself grace and pick yourself up again to do it again. I remember I literally had talked to my staff at one point that you got to show grace when someone's pissing you off and, just be patient and stuff. And literally the next day at a grocery store, I got irritated with the cash register lady. And I was it was that time of the month, you guys, not an excuse, TMI, but it was the truth. And I was edgy with her. And I started walking out of the grocery store. And I remember God going, Jen, that was not an integrity. You just spoke yesterday with your team. And here you are, you were a bitch with this. I'm like, God, I turned back around. I had like bags of things in my hands. I turned back around and tapped her on the shoulder. And she just kind of did this. And there was a huge line. And in front of everyone, I said, you know what, Camilla? I'm like, I was really rude to you just a few minutes ago. It was not you. I just want to clear that up and I just want to own that. And I hope you have a good rest of the day. She looked at me, like looked around. She's like, is this woman really saying that? And she just literally put her hand on her heart. And she said, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm like, you're welcome. And everybody was watching, and I wasn't doing for them to watch, but I really was stepping in humility of saying, I did something wrong and I want to live in character and integrity. And when I walked out, it made my day. And I was a total bitch to her about 5 minutes earlier. So think about that, you guys. It's never too late. We can't be perfect, but keep your integrity, character, and your virtues in line. Be a good person, even when your other people are watching. And let me tell you, magic started happening that day. That could probably be a whole nother podcast. But I'm going to tell you, I'm trying to always do that every day. And I'm not perfect with it, but doing that in alignment, staying in your spiritual truth, walking the walk, living your life, being the best version you can be, you're going to make it, you guys, guarantee.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. It's the law of reciprocity. And absolutely, I've seen it play out time and time again, where if you want more love in your life, pour more love out in the world. But going back to your beginning conversation about you have to have a full cup or a full bucket, so to speak. But once you do, and you want more love, if you want more, whatever it is, give more of it. right? So each micro interaction at the cashier, smile, ask someone how their day is going. Most of the time, people in the service industry, whether it's cashiers, restaurant workers, they're getting shit on all day. And
Yeah.
a little bit of love or humor or playfulness goes a long way. And
Mhm.
that may bleed into another conversation where they're happy and they're talking to someone who has a bad day. And if you do this enough times and you help enough people, the world has changed, right? There was
Yeah.
something that you said though in that conversation when you brought up Will Smith. I thought of a couple of things, but one of the things was choose your hard. And choose your hard is very, very important when you think about things like being out of shape is hard, being in shape is hard. Choose your hard. Being
Yes.
married is hard, being divorced is hard. Choose your heart. Like, so it really just depends on where your alignment is. And there was something, whatever you said brought me to that point. But I want to go back to kind of what you do and how you operate today. But I think it ties so perfectly with your experience as an All-American athlete and high performance, work ethic, training. Talk about your experience first of like what you used to do as an All-American athlete, all that went with that, and then how that plays into your business today.
It's really interesting because, I do work with a lot of even high level athletes or were prior high level athletes, and they're a unique breed in good ways and sometimes not so good ways. Okay. Um, I'm going to start with where I did it wrong, just because it's now why I do things the right way now as a leader. And, you get a lot of accolades when you are an athlete in this country. And my identity was really wrapped around winning and my identity around winning and needing to win to get love and acceptance from my team. Okay.
Yeah.
Not a good space to be. Okay. And led also to some of my depression as well. So understanding that when you are called with a certain gift to be at a certain level, you have to step back and make sure you're separating that you are using a powerful gift to serve the world, but it does not tie to your significance as a
Yeah.
human being. That's something I learned the hard way in college. Had a great career, was an All-American, yes. But what I learned and how I've catapulted into leading teams now in being, the All-American on my team is that we're all in this together, first and foremost. There is no success as our goal, and that means you are less significant. Let's look at, did we meet the goal? Did we not meet the goal? Where can we learn from that? And that's what I learned as an athlete. Communication, teamwork, choose your hard. Like I said, we lost a race. What are we going to do next time? We're going to stay and lose in the race, or we're going to try to win the next one. How can we do it differently? So the good stuff I got, honestly, from being a high level athlete was 100% connection, communication between team, knowing what hard we wanted to choose, knowing how to adapt all the time in adversity, always seeing it as the glass is half full. Look at the learning moments. What can we do better next time? It is absolutely translated into the teams that I have had for my own businesses, as well as now teams, which I get so giddy about with entrepreneurs and their teams. Of really what I call creating that mental edge, filtering through the adversity. And it really comes down to always seeing that the universe, we hear this all the time, you guys, but I do love the phrase that it's always working for us, even when it looks like it's not. Last year was a great example. A lot of teams had people with interpersonal struggles, then in the actual collective business struggle. We have to understand that as leaders, what is the learning moment at all times? And the other thing I learned as an athlete that I've taken into today is, as a business owner, as a leader of whatever it is, you got to be willing to start over every single day.
Yep.
Every single day, you guys, every
Yep.
single day. Because good things can happen, shit can hit the fan. You're on cloud nine, you're not. You got to be willing to know how to emotionally handle the waves when this happens and be able to take a deep breath, use your tools to find out a better option, an ulterior option. So I would say those are the things I've translated in good ways from being an athlete to leading my teams now. And I think that they're powerful tools, and all of you can use those. Take a deep breath. It's always learning moments. The world is always working for you. And side note, Jesse, this is something, I'm always a neuroscience just freak, and I love this stuff. It's physics, okay? The world turns because of positive and negative charges. The things in our body continue to move day in and day out, positive, negative charges. Positive, negative is happening throughout the whole day. If you throw a ball hard on the concrete, it bounces up really high, right? When we look at all of our quote bad experiences, whether it be on a team or personally, What do we notice? Learning moments and we get back up. My goal for all of you listening is that you learn tools to get up more quickly, more solutions, more learning moments. But it's physics, you guys. For every bottom, there's a rise coming. People make money every day in depressions. People make money every day during hard times. People create mental edge prowess in bad times because we understand the physics of it, the up and down. We just get out of it quicker. That's the only difference between you and me, you guys. If you feel like you struggle in that area, we do it quicker with seeing that it's an opportunity to learn, create new options, and that we have the power to do that because it's universal law to do that.
Yeah,
Right?
and I think the biggest thing too there is just not giving up. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like the only time you can truly fail as an entrepreneur is if you quit. You're going to
Yes.
have what I call learning lessons. I mean, I've had a few companies and a few didn't do well and a few are successful. And it just took ideation, whittling things down. It took failure. You know, you see all these famous, quotes and things, Michael Jordan, I've missed 9,000 shots in my life, but it's the game winners that I'm known for. It's the championships that I have, but I've failed more times than I've succeeded, and failure gives you information. And it doesn't even have to be failure. It could just be a learning lesson. So like every time you fall down and get back up and keep moving forward, you get stronger. And you
Right.
learn empathy, you have intelligence, you have experience. Experience is one of the greatest teachers, right?
Yeah.
As long as you take the lesson and use it and apply it. And so what was your, like, do you run track? Like what was your thing?
Yep. So I ran middle distance 800, 1500. And I ran at University of Wisconsin Madison. We were the top 1 and 2 along with Villanova. We battle it out at nationals all the time, middle distance teams in the country. And I learned from some of the greatest leaders, but I also learned from people that didn't have it together. Okay, that there was,
Of
and
course.
that's what when you're. By the way, you guys, when you make it to that level in businesses, really, by the way, side note, be aware that there's a lot of fear, evil, whatever you guys want to call it, Satan. Just there's always going to be, as you're getting to the next level, there's going to be a lot of noise coming to you as well. Really understand that when you're pushing to the next level, when you're getting that good, whatever it is, be prepared that your brain either is saying some negative stuff or the universe is going to be pulling some stuff to you to kind of almost try to stunt that growth a little bit. That's part of the resistance we're talking about in a good way to kind of get through that hurdle, that stumbling block. But I would say, as a high level athlete, we were the top in the country at the time, and we had some really great moments. We had some tough times when we were at the top. And I encourage all of you to always continue to know that no matter how good you are, you guys, it's really easy to get lazy at the top and not realize you still have to keep transcending to the next level, to the next level, and be prepared for things to be coming at you. I always tell people that when I'm helping them get to the next level, just know it's a good thing if you're getting a lot of problems coming to you or you're getting a lot of negative or resistance, because it just means you're trying to stretch to that next level. Get the right people around you, your mastermind people, the people that think like you, to help support you through that, because the noise can pull you down. We are human. That happened a little bit last year. We sometimes want to be accepted more than we want to push through and own our truth and get to the next level. I saw some really high achieving leaders last year kind of buckle because they were afraid of speaking their truth because they would be rejected. You guys know, if you want to keep getting to the next level, I've had the opportunity to do that throughout my life, not just in my athletic career, Jesse. There will be people that you will lose. You will lose tons of people. You're going to get, you're literally the Spartan in the middle of the freaking arena. You're going to have blood and sweat and tears and grub all over your nasty face. But knowing you get to that other side, there's this beautiful dance that is happening. And you're going to get a lot of people, places, things that are going to maybe be hating on you. Okay, no matter what level that is. But I've seen it in my athletic career. I've seen it in my personal career. I've seen it in my entrepreneurial career. When I'm trying to get to that next level, I lost a lot of people.
Yep.
I just did.
Yep.
And I actually questioned myself, I'm like, but I'm like, no, I know from all my past experience, learning, I need to get to that next level. And I got to be aware that there's noise coming at me and using tools, my mastermind, my people, to help me through that as well. We can't do this alone, you guys. And that's the other
Well,
thing I would say. You have to be connected to your community. The things that Jesse and I are talking about, yes, I had that moment where it was on me on the bathroom floor, and we're circling back around to our initial conversation. But we need our people. We need our people. You have to step in courage, get rid of the saran wrap. They start coming to you. Pull them into you, you guys, because when you're alone in that arena, you're actually not alone. Because when you look out, you see your people. that are backing you and saying, well done, keep going. So remember that you're not alone, even though you're alone in the arena.
I love it. I love it. I love all of it. And I'm thinking about how every relationship is a teacher, and
Yes.
no more apparent than in dating, right? And so I've been divorced over a year and a half, and I've been dating, and just like I've had some great relationships and people that have become friends and people that have become girlfriends, and just kind of the people that come in and out of your life are there for a reason, and they're great teachers. And when in the dating aspect, a lot of times if you're doing self work and you're learning to grow and you're learning to level up and like show up well in relationship with self and others, you're going to get information each connection.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out and you part ways friends, or you just don't talk anymore, like high five, like the experience mattered so that you can be ready for the one. Like you can be ready for whoever that person is if you choose to get into something committed long term, like that's whatever. But I've learned even through my own process that every experience and every connection is a lesson, and
Uh-huh.
it's something that brings me closer to, the things that I want and the things that I'm calling into my life, because I am rooted in my truth. I am standing in my core tenets of belief, and I am open for what the universe has, but at the same time, these are great teachers along the way.
Yeah. And I love what you just said, because going back to, just getting to that next level, being the person of impact, leading your team. And I say connections, and connections are all about relationships. And guess what I tell all my leaders to do? I'm like, don't worry about your team. Look at your current relationships. And better yet, your intimate relationships, even if
Yes.
you don't have them right now. Look at your past ones. I actually have done a lot of inner work myself, just in the last year, and I've worked with a love relationship coach. And we were talking about like intimate relationships, past relationships, and how much, you guys, how you do one thing is how you do everything. I'm like, oh my
Yes.
gosh, I'm carrying that behavior, not only to drawing in the one, but also my team.
Yeah.
You guys, it is so enlightening. That is such a great point, Jesse. I love what you just said. Is when you really reflect on your current relationships, your patterns. It's okay, you guys. We all have patterns, good patterns and not so good patterns. But when you really dial into your more intimate relationships, it's game changing, because I realized the light bulb went off on all the other areas where I was not leading well in business or other friendships. And it's, you guys, it's taken off my career by dealing with some things I thought I had dealt with, but I hadn't yet. Like I said, I'm just like, and again, this is where we need our people in our
Yep.
community. Like Jen, you're doing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am. So I love that you said that. But I think relationships, and definitely I would say even deeper yet, what you said about intimate relationships, whether you are on one right now or not, you guys, we've all had them. Start looking at your behavior patterns. Are you exuding those in other areas of your life and stunting your growth? As I've gotten more intimate with my intimate relationships, again, another reason why, like, why am I getting all these potential coaching clients toward me? I'm just dealing with all this crap, Jesse. And I'm like, it's freeing, but I'm also seeing the ebb and flow, because I'm getting it. My emotional intelligence is taking off intuition, and I'm getting my behavior, checking it at the door, staying in integrity, right? And trying to be a good person, even when people aren't watching. So I
Yeah.
love that you said that. It's such a powerful point.
Yeah, relationships are everything. And I have a book that I'm about halfway through writing, and it's affectionately called Happy Wealth, but I might change it to Conscious Wealth. And basically it's kind of life journey. It's utilitarian on how to become wealthy and be happy while you're doing it, because most people that chase money become unhappy,
Yeah.
and how to actually, the steps to build wealth. And the most important thing that I talk off and I talk about and kick off the book with is time. Time is the most important commodity that we'll never get back. You can make more money, you can go build another house, you can buy another thing, which at the end of the day, those things are nice to have, but they're not going to matter on your deathbed. So time is the most important thing. Because I've held death in my hands a couple of times in my life with my daughter and my mom, and cleaned up my dad's blood off the floor after he died, I really have been thrown in the face of death, and I know the value of a moment. The second thing that's in that book that comes right after, the most important currency is relationships. So
Mm,
if time's the most important commodity that we'll never get more of, the most important currency we'll ever have in this lifetime is relationships.
yeah.
And again, I go back to this because it's this idea of memento mori, which is an old Stoic philosophy. It says, know that you're mortal, know that you must die. Let that dictate how you show up in your life every single day. Let it be a tailwind to push you into better conversations, better effort on the field, better effort in relationships, whatever it is, right? And I think that people that have that concept of relationships, and they can take that concept of finite, like, we only have now. What are you
Yeah.
going to do right now that's going to be better than what you did yesterday, like you talked about earlier? And I just want to tie it back real quick to a point that you made. relationships with those that have done what you're trying to do, a mentor, an advisor, someone who's been down the field that can give you insight, not only on how to succeed, but how not to fuck up. Like I'm an advisor, I'm a financial planner. And most people, they're like, Jesse, can you make my portfolio grow by X percent or X amount of money? I'm like, sure, that's kind of standard. But what the thing is I'm going to show you how not to fuck up and how not to like lose a ton of time or lose a ton of money. And I think that mentors, I have multiple mentors in different capacities to this day, from personal mentors, from friends,
Yeah.
people that are ahead of me, people that are kind of on the same level playing field, but have different mindsets, to people like Goggins that are virtual, and
Yeah.
people like all over the place. There's people everywhere. Eckhart Tolle, Simon Sinek, like all these different people, thought leaders that I learned from, even if it's just snippets, Tim Ferriss, all these people. So who are your mentors, whether they're
Yeah.
personal or virtual?
I love that you said that. I always say real quick, Jesse, I buy my friends and they start usually as mentors.
Yeah.
They're one step above me, um, for me, my ultimate mentor is always God. I'm co-creating with him all the time. I get giddy about that. I don't think we understand the power we have with connecting with the creator, and
Yep.
whatever that means to all of you. That's so powerful. 100% hats off to the creator, because I'm co-creating with him every day because he made me to do the things I love to do. And I love that. As far as the ones that are currently in my life that I absolutely love, they're definitely that step up from me, in that I love that. David Meltzer, I love Joel Brown. If you've ever heard of him, he's a thought leader as well. Kelly Brock, she's a very good friend of mine, but she's also very high up, a little bit step up from me. All these people that I'm talking about, you guys. Kayla Kraft is another one that I really enjoy. Lauren Zoller is another one I really enjoy.
Yep.
There's so many, to be quite frank, but I will say all of these people I just mentioned, I've either been mentored by, collabed with, or been coached by in some way, shape, or form. And then they became friends because I want to get to that next level. And then there's people below me that want to get to that next level. So it's been really great to see that on either side. My mom is a huge, huge mentor to me. She is a warrior. She's a Spartan woman in every way, from the feminine masculine. I've learned so much from her, and she's lost a lot. She's been through the ringer as well. And going back to the reason why she's one of my favorite of all mentors is what you said, Jesse, about even loss, with your daughter. And I've lost an older sister and two dads to cancer, and my mother lost. And there's an edge that happens that makes you, and I'm actually thankful that
Yep.
I was able
Same.
to be in that loss where they transcended to the next level, because it created such a fire into me about your time moment that you mentioned, that life is short. Even if you live a long time, it is very short. And on my epitaph, I want it to say, she lived
Hell yeah.
every single day. She lived, in capitals. And you know what? I've actually had friends say that to me, like, Jen, you live every day. I'm like, that's the best compliment you could ever give me. And if I'm an example of that to you, then I've done my job. So those are the people that are actually, to me, I totally respect so much of them. But all those mentors I just mentioned, my mom, the Lord Jesus Christ, Joel Brown, David Meltzer, Kelly Brock, all these people, you know what? They live each and every day. And I would say that about all of them across the board. And they challenge me, and you challenge me, Jesse, to live each day a little bit higher level, a little bit more of who I am. Because when I get to the pearly gates someday, I want to know that I did well. And I did everything I was supposed to do to maximize my life and create the impact I was meant to be on this earth for.
I love that. I love that. And you're an example of those relationships and an average of those relationships, because you're mighty and powerful. And I had the pleasure of having Meltzer on for, I think, like episode 100, and plugging into some of his people, which we could talk about as we jump off. I think we're going to have some great connections to share. And then even Lauren Zoller, she's someone I was connected to through this Clubhouse group, which was like coffee with conscious CEOs every Friday that we were doing it. And it's interesting. You start kind of running in the same circles and meeting some of the same people. But I want to just touch on one more point about how we talked about, like, you just mentioned, like, the afterlife, when people pass on and wherever they go, whatever you believe in. I'll tell you what I know for me is, I went to Peru back in March on a spiritual quest, and I was working with plant medicines and different things. And one of the plant medicines I worked with was San Pedro, which is the grandfather cactus.
Yeah.
It's the masculine, it's the grounding, it's the heart opening. one of my intentions months leading up to going to Peru was to connect with Alana, who was the daughter I lost, who was 7 days old. And I held her until my arms till she took her last breath. And just reconnecting with her spirit and her soul, and just spending time with her. Because I had 7 days with her, and 7 days in ICU where she was hooked up to machines, and I didn't have a chance to get to know my daughter. And so leading up to Peru, as I'm setting intentions in discernment, journaling, meditating, my focus became so crystal clear on what I wanted from that journey that when I was working in an altered state of consciousness with San Pedro, I was able to sit with my daughter for 2 hours, and I was able to spend time with her. And not that it was like a physical, she was sitting next to me, but it was her spirit and her energy. And it was unmistakable, undeniably her. And I actually got the chance to spend time with my mom and dad, who are no longer on this plane of existence. And so what I learned from that, when you talked about, as they move on and where they go, part of wherever they go, they're always still with you. So when I was looking and seeking and searching, I was like, I want to spend time with Alana. I want to be with her. She's always with me. And that's what I learned in that 2 hours. I was crying the whole time, looking at beautiful mountains in Peru and the Sacred Valley, like all this powerful energy. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, she's never left. Like she's always been, her soul, part of her energy, her fiber is in my DNA, and it'll never leave. And it's the fucking most powerful thing in the world. So for those people that are listening that have lost someone, which is everyone, I think at this point, probably in your life, like if you're over the age of 5 or 6 where you can remember things, you've probably lost someone. Just know that they never leave you. Technical difficulties.
That was awesome. That happens sometimes. I'm like, I'm listening to you. I think I just lost you.
No, good. No, I was just wrapping it up with just saying that if you've lost anyone, they're always with you. And then I've learned that personally for myself. And it's a beautiful knowing now that like they're always with you.
Yeah. And I totally agree. And it's such a gift. And I've had friends that have lost children, and I'd love to hear more about your experience, Jesse. But I have to tell you, this kind of stuff of coming together and hearing your experiences, mine, are so powerful. And I hope your listeners just understand they can have the life that they want, even through some really dark moments. You guys, we've all had them. And that's part of this thing we call the human experience. And one thing I would say, Jesse, which I'm a movie person. I don't like TV, but I love movies. And there was a movie, and I forgot the name of it, but it's about two angels in heaven looking down at all of us humans doing our highs and lows and anger and hate and love and more. And one of the angels is like, dude, we have it so made. And the other angel said, I actually envy the human.
Yes.
One angel was like, what are you talking about? And I'm kind of summarizing you guys. And the one angel said, they have lost so hard and felt so much pain. They love so hard. It was such a power. And I will say that you guys, and I get choked up by it because I'm a crier. If you guys need someone to cry with, I cry easily.
Same.
Happy, sad, we all cry. I will cry with you, listeners. But I will say, to me, I just remember that when I'm feeling kind of, I'm like, this is part of that human experience. And this is how we connect and love on each other. And when we get that and embrace the ups and downs, the quote highs and lows, man, and just learn the tools and connect with the right people. You got this, you guys. You got it.
No question. No question. Back in Greek mythology, I remember reading, I was really enamored by it growing up and all the different kinds of stories that came from it. But the gods envied us. They because of the ability to love hard and to fight and to die. I mean, a lot of times, like some of these stories are kind of silly, but like they're immortal and they're bored, right? Yeah. And they're like, this is it. We just get to sit here and like it's like Joe Rogan always talks about when he gets controversy from people that say, aliens would have no interest in us, and he's like, why? Like look how interesting we are. If you're such an evolved, advanced species, right? Like we study ants, like humans study ants, right? So why wouldn't the aliens want to study us, right?
Anyway. I love Rogan. He always has his funny enlightening moments, but I love Rogan.
Rogan is tapped in too. He's on the path. He's a spiritual guru. But he's also like a clanging and banging meathead, I love him.
This is why I love him.
He's like one of my spirit animals. So hell yeah. But Jennifer, thank you so much for being you. Thank you for your story, your journey, your mission. Thank you for all that you shared and being vulnerable. And divine vulnerability is strength. So when you take off the armor and you say, this is who I am, this is what I have going on, people just fall in love with you. And I'm a fan. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor, Jesse. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks so much. And we'll chat soon.